Well, Jason, so nice to have you
It's great
on
to
the
be
show
here
today. Usually
Yes.
you're the one asking the questions, so tables are turned.
I'm nervous. I like being in control. Like, this is giving up control.
I love that. I love that so much. So let's go way back. How did you get interested in broadcasting? Where did this all begin? Were you telling people stories, in first and second grade, or how did this?
Yes. Yeah, it goes back to from the youngest age, I wanted to be a broadcaster.
Like, seriously?
Yeah. So do you remember the Mr. Microphone? Mr. Microphone
Maybe, yeah.
was a handheld microphone that had an antenna.
Okay.
And you could tune your FM radio to like 88.7, whatever the first frequency was.
Okay.
Turn on the microphone, and now you were broadcasting.
Wow.
So I went through Mr. Microphones at such a level that I burned them out. So we had to buy extra Mr. Microphones.
Seriously, that's awesome.
So I would walk around the place. I do not know how I didn't get just the living crap beaten out of me walking around the playground, trying to do fake, what on earth? Just the worst. But I was all the annoying things. I was the morning announcement guy at high school. We had a high school radio station, an actual over-the-air radio station. So I used to do play-by-play for our high school girls and boys basketball teams and football and all of that. So yeah, just from a young age, I got very good grades, and my parents were always like, "Sure you don't want to be a lawyer?
For a doctor.
How about a doctor?" I'm like, "No, I want to be a broadcaster." And they're like, "But you're the smart one of our kids. What are you doing?" But when I went looking for a college, I was looking for a college that I didn't have to wait till junior year to be able to do my major. So Marquette University in Milwaukee is where I went. And we had a student-run TV station there, so we did newscasts, campus news 4 nights a week.
Wow.
It's amazing today seeing what people can do on their cell phones, because we were using VHS camcorders.
Love it.
The big VHS tape. And when I learned how to edit, which now anybody can edit in their Instagram or TikTok app, we were editing tape to tape. So you're essentially dubbing a little bit of video and dubbing it onto another tape, and then boom, boom, boom. And the technology has made this so much easier. But storytelling is hard. And so just because people can shoot and edit doesn't mean that they can synthesize what is interesting, they can be insightful, they can add knowledge. And so I've always loved that storytelling. But, from a young age, I was a performer, and I thought that my voice mattered more than other people. And I think we sort of have this idea, this phony democracy, right? Everybody's voice matters. No, it doesn't. Some people are idiots, right? Some people are idiots. It's okay. Yes, you have a right to share your opinion. You should. Why not? My opinion isn't necessarily better than yours, but I know how to communicate. I've been doing this for 40 or 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you
little arrogant, I'm coming in hot. I'm ready. What do you want me to say?
I love that though. I'm picturing "Good morning, Vietnam." Right.
Well, we used to I really wanted to be a game show host. So when I was a kid, we would play The Price is Right in the basement. And my brother Dan, and I'm sorry, Dan, but Dan had to be the contestant. I was Johnny Olson, who is the original announcer. I was Bob Barker. I was a contestant, and I was the judge as to who was right or wrong. So it didn't go so great for Dan. Didn't go so great.
Oh my gosh! Well, we did a little Price is Right game at Christmas time with our family, and we should have brought you in.
Could have hired me in for that.
You would have done a better job than Reed. Reed was Bob Barker. It was a little.
I can see it. I can see he's got the host vibe. It's I was an annoying kid. Always wanting to be hosting some kind of show or something. So
that's so great. And I mean, how great is it that you've kind of accomplished that? So you get out of college and it's probably super easy to get those jobs.
So when I was in college in Milwaukee,
Yeah.
I interned at the ABC TV station, which was right on campus, which was so cool.
That's nice.
And I had a mentor there, the main anchor.
Who was?
Jerry Taff. And Jerry Taff was this big voice, big dude, guy from Texas. And so here's this Texan in Milwaukee, and he taught me so many great lessons that I think are actually applicable to everybody. He was the most loved news anchor in Milwaukee, and he was the most hated news anchor in Milwaukee.
Really?
He was Jerry. He was himself. Take it or leave it. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. But he told me, he's like, Jason, if a third of the people love you, you have Super Bowl-like ratings every night. So don't worry about the third of the people who hate you. And don't try to please everyone, because you're just going to fail. So be yourself. And, you know, this advice, by the way, is only really applicable for people who are not horrible.
Right.
Because some people should maybe not be themselves. You know what I mean? But like, yeah.
But I think that's why I have been so drawn to you over the years, is because it does feel like you're genuinely being you. I mean, you're very respectful and, you know, allow other people to have a voice and all that. But I do think that comes across. And so that's pretty interesting that you remember that as being something that was a gift from a mentor.
Yeah, it was really eye-opening, right? Because that he had the confidence. And so what I needed to work on it throughout my career was, how do I unlock my voice in a way that still is appropriate for the medium? So one of the challenges I had when I was anchoring the news at Channel 4 is that people looked at me and they're like, man, Jason just says whatever he thinks. Well, no, I don't. Like, I'm always thinking through, like, when is it appropriate to share this? How hard do I want to go? What is the rhythm of the conversation at the time? What other obligations are there as far as, like, oh, we have to be out at this time and whatever. Like, there are all these things. I'm constantly thinking that through.
Sure.
Because communication is a two-way street. So there have been times, and especially on social media, where I'll post something and then I just get reaction that, to me, you read it and you're like, well, you guys are willfully, purposefully misinterpreting what I'm saying because you just want to roast me. But sometimes you have to step back and say, maybe I failed in communicating my intent. Everybody else doesn't always know your intent. So I think we are quick to blame other people for not understanding us, but I try to think through, like, did I drop the ball? Because it's a two-way street. And if a large number of people don't understand what you're saying, you screwed up. It's all right. Like, it's okay. How often do we all screw up every day? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's actually quite freeing if you learn to just say, like, oh, messed that one up.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
You know.
You utilize social media quite a bit. It's part of, a big part of, I think, what you do and what you leverage and really take advantage of. But boy, you do also see a pretty ugly side of humanity.
It's human nature to focus on the negative.
Wonder why that is.
I don't
someone
know.
Explain that to me?
It's sort of screwed up,
Right?
Because, and I used to see this in TV, and women in broadcasting have it so much harder than men. Because not only do you get attacked for your voice, for whatever you say, for whatever your bias is, you're part of the media, all of the things, but then you really get it on your looks. And
what you wear. And
what you wear.
Yeah.
Now, look, I used to have people who would email me and like, you're losing your hair. I'm like, look, buddy, I look in the mirror every damn morning. I know, okay? Like, I know. Like, thanks for the email. Like, what's the rip? I don't know. There was a time, so I got an email like that years ago, before I got a hair transplant. It was more this part of me instead of this part of me. So I get this email about like, you're losing your hair. And I respond and I said, I got to tell you, you're right. I am losing my hair. I know. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully it's not so distracting. Whatever. It was very nice. I get a response back from the guy's wife, who was mortified. They have a shared email address. And so she's like, I cannot believe that he sent this to you because you should see what his hairline looks like. So I was trying to think about that with social media and the response. Awesome. Like I will say my experience on social media is 90% positive. Now, for a regular human being, should you ever put yourself through something that is 10% absolute attack negativity? No. Normal people, why would you put yourself through that, right? Who needs that kind of negativity in their life? For me, I focus on the 90%. It's mostly pretty good. People are nice. People try to help in scenarios where you ask for help. People are funny. Sometimes you need a little comic relief.
Sure.
People come through. And so for me, mostly I see the positive. The negative is there. It sometimes gets to me, but I have pretty thick skin.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd have to, right? To be in the media at all, right?
I think so. We're in a time right now where, the trust in the media has never been lower.
Right.
And some of that is earned. Some of that is because of the way the media does their job.
Yeah, and there's so much content to have to fill and sell advertising and. And
it's hard. The economics of it are not great.
Right.
Everyone wants information on the platform that they want the information on. And I worry, especially as a local person, I worry that we are becoming obsessed with national topics and we're not as concerned about things that are important in our own backyard. And if people don't consume this stuff, if they decide they don't care, well, then it sort of goes away, right?
Yeah.
It is a business, it's not a charity. But the hatred is out of line, I think. Mm-hmm. Most people that I know in the media, well, first of all, you could dissect what the media is, right? So when people are ripping on the media, are they mad at Channel 4 or Channel 5 or Channel 11 or whatever your local news is? Usually not. They're usually mad at cable news. What about these podcast influencers that are flamethrowers on social media? Is that what you mean? Is it me, your afternoon drive talk show host? What are you talking about exactly? And usually people, when they hate the media, if you ask for some examples, then it's usually difficult to give an example.
Sure.
So there's one story you didn't like, there's story selection, but I do think the media, I think of the legacy media, right? The big stuff we think about. I can't worry about all right, our podcasters being awful, whatever, they're doing their thing. I don't know why we worry about it. But is the Star Tribune and the New York Times and the Washington Post, I think the Trump years brought this idea that you can't just tell both sides because you should be trying to tell the truth. And it's an interesting concept because I grew up in the era of my job is to tell you, here's what happened. If it's a controversial issue, I tell you, here's what these people think, but not everybody agrees, and here's what they think. Today, I think there's this idea, especially among journalists, that just giving both sides isn't enough, that you should be giving the truth. And I sort of miss the old way of I'll lay it out for you. My job is to lay it out for you.
And
your
you
job.
decide.
Your job. Yeah, you decide. Mm-hmm. You decide what you think is the right way or the wrong way. But you run into issues climate change. For a long time, there was debate as to whether or not it was happening. It's happening. We don't need to give another side as to whether or not it's happening. It is.
Right.
Now, how much do humans cause that? Well, like, there's a little debate about that, but not much serious debate about it. So you do sort of think about that when you weight that. Should you do 50-50, this side and then this side? Should you find the biggest wacko out there who disagrees with something? Do they get equal? So some of this is hard. It's hard.
But do you ever feel pressure as a journalist to kind of find a little bit of sensationalism to be able to get, the clicks? Yeah.
So now that I'm a talk show host, I have no ethics. None. Like, my job is to get people to listen. I don't think that a good way to build trust is on one-off, like, hot takes just to try to get clicks. Today's television or print. So because I'm a talk show host, I get to have opinions. I'm not really a journalist anymore, although when you do it for 25 years, it's hard
it's ingrained in you.
Yeah, it's hard to not make that extra call or like, oh, what is happening? You sort of get into that. But I get to have opinions now. I do think there's too much opinion in regular reporting. I think that part of the challenge is that the journalists coming out of colleges today don't believe in the old idea of like laying out the facts and let people decide. They believe that their job is to seek the truth and then report the truth. And while that may not sound that different, I think it's really different.
Interesting.
It's really different. So when I talk to people at the newspapers or the TV stations, they say that they have a difficult time hiring people who are not sort of wannabe activists.
Interesting.
So some of that is a mindset difference in young people.
Interesting.
If you're 22 and don't have an opinion on Israel-Palestine, is that a normal case for a 22-year-old? Probably not. Most 22-year-olds have a pretty strong opinion on that. What about college debt? Most 22-year-olds probably have a pretty strong opinion as to whether we should forgive college debt. To be a 22-year-old journalist and say like, well, I sort of have an open mind on both sides of that. That's not very socially acceptable. So like,
interesting.
Those kids are not, when I came out, everything wasn't up for debate. We weren't talking because we didn't know, we didn't have social media. We were more worried about like which chicks we could pick up, right? Like that's what we were thinking about. So like young people today have opinions on all this stuff where when I started as a journalist, I didn't have opinions on all this. My goal, I was such an absolute lunatic about this stuff that in 7th grade, when all of us in our government and politics class were assigned to go volunteer for a campaign, I asked my teacher, I said, I'm going to be a journalist, so like I can't be volunteering on a Republican or a Democrat campaign. This was in 7th grade.
Wow.
And the teacher is like, are you okay? Like, you really think they're going to like dig into your history and be like, we got him, he's a Republican or whatever. But I was allowed to like volunteer for like a city council thing that was nonpartisan. So yeah.
Because you just didn't want anyone
I just didn't want anyone to be like DeRusha's biased. Now today everyone's like, he's a lefty, he's a Trumper. You're like, well, I guess if everybody thinks I'm whatever they hate, maybe I'm doing it right, that no one really knows. But
that's super interesting. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So you how'd you end up in Minnesota?
It's a girl. Sort of. So my wife graduated from Wayzata High School. We met in college. So we were college sweethearts. I proposed right after she graduated. My first job out of school. When I was in school, I interned at that Milwaukee station, but I also interned at ABC News, World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, and Primetime Live with Diane Sawyer and Sam Donaldson.
Very cool.
I had two typical. So that TV station, Milwaukee, my mentor called Peter Jennings' secretary like once a week. Hey, you guys hired Jason yet? Have you hired Jason yet?
Wow.
And so then they hired me. But without that, I would have just been a Midwest kid. I don't think they would have cared in New York. Now, I thought I was going to intern with the best and brightest from around the country. I was interning with the neighbor of the vice president of finance, the sorority sister of the president of News's daughter. You know, it was all of that. I was like, whoa, it really is who you know. And I guess I was a who you know too, because one of the local stations called every week to get me the job.
Isn't that crazy?
It's who you know. You still have to produce, but it is who you know. And that got me in the door.
Yeah.
But then I started my career in Davenport, Iowa. Pretty small newsroom. The snort laugh is correct. From World News Tonight in New York City to Davenport, Iowa, where it was, but you know what? It was great. It was a #1 station in Davenport with a lot of veteran journalists. So I learned a ton from not only the on-air people, but the photographers at this station were so good.
Really?
And when you're a reporter, everyone thinks you're hanging out with other reporters. Not really. Like, you get assigned to a story, or you come up with a story, you get assigned to a photographer, and you sit in a car with a photographer all day.
I bet.
So you're working with, now today, a lot of kids have to shoot their own stuff.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So they call it MMJs, multimedia journalists. But we used to call it one-man bands back in the day, where it was sort of like the old Al Franken skit on Saturday Night Live, where he had the satellite link up on his helmet on his head, and he's holding a camera. Today, cell phone technology is so good that you can broadcast TV from a backpack. So you could have a camera, plug it into this little backpack, and you're on the air.
Wow.
So for radio, my radio show, I have a small little unit about this big that I can plug into an internet line and plug a microphone in, and I can do my show from anywhere in the world.
You were just down in Florida.
Did the whole show from Florida with that little tiny unit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it sounds just as good as the studio. So technology has really changed a lot of this stuff for good.
Yeah.
But I got here in 2003. I was 28 years old, youngest guy on the air at Channel 4. Didn't take long to become the oldest guy on the air at well, not the oldest, but like, it was amazing coming here. I thought I'd be here for 5 years, and I love it. It's been a great place to raise a family. It is one of the best communities in the country to cover the news because people care here. People vote. People care about issues. They are informed. They're educated. If you want to work in news or current events information or talk like I'm in, doesn't get better. The audience here is phenomenal.
So we had the opportunity to meet because I was coerced by your advertising on WC.
Advertising works, everybody. I'm here to tell you.
To go to Portugal.
Yes.
Kind of a funny story about how I got my husband to agree, but we had a great time. It was a great trip.
It was
but
terrific.
One of the things that I think when people think of you, they don't only think of you as a broadcaster. They think of how you are a part of the community and how you are really out in the community enjoying places, both, locally and internationally. But, especially locally, I mean, you've really got kind of like you became kind of the foodie. I mean, how did you connect talking about things and doing things and being out with people and really experiencing what the community has to offer?
So I'm one of these guys that always needs a new challenge. So like 5 years, if I don't tack some side hustle or interesting hobby or something, I'm getting bored. So it's 5 years and what's new? I was early on social media. I had a Twitter account that I started the day after the 35W bridge collapsed because I spent the whole day covering there, was one of the first reporters on the scene. But some of the cell phone text service went down, and some of my friends were communicating using Twitter. I'm like, I better download this. So when people post their first tweets, like usually it's something cute or fun, mine's like, going to cover the bridge collapse. It got like sort of rough. At that time, no one wanted to know like where you were going on vacation or where you were eating. It was sort of a rip on social media. Like, well, who cares what you had for lunch?
Wow, that sure has changed.
Right?
Holy moly. Yeah.
So I found that people did care where I was going for lunch. And so I would post up and people were like, oh, where's that? And my group of followers was very small. It was so early. So when I went on a wine vacation to Napa and Sonoma, I was like, well, no one's going to want to see this on the main Twitter account. So I launched a side Twitter account called DeRusha's Wine. Now, some would say DeRusha's Wines would be a very good brand for me.
Especially
maybe.
your
Just
wife.
keep it. Yeah, my wife thinks that's right. But when I got back, I'm like, well, how much can I write about wine? Like, how much can I drink? Now, today, I think like, oh, I should have kept the wine brand going. Like, that would have been good. But I switched it to DeRusha Eats. And then, like, I got, I don't know, a year later, after just posting social media about where Alyssa and I were eating, I was asked to write a suburban restaurant review for Minnesota Monthly by Dara Moskowitz, who is now the food editor at now she's an editor at Minneapolis St. Paul. But she asked me to write about food, and I said, okay. And there it was. So kind of an example, I don't know, there's this old school theory where people would talk about hanging up your shingle. You just decide you're going to do something, you hang your shingle outside the store, and that's what you're doing. And I was sort of that. I hung up a shingle and said, I know a little bit about eating out, and there it is.
Wow.
So I just sort of listened to what the audience wants, and people seemed interested, so I leaned in when it comes to like jumping in and diving in and taking part in things in the community. I think because I have always been very approachable. So like there's certain TV people who you feel like they're on their ivory tower or big anchor desk or whatever. But I've always been sort of the same deal on the air as off the air. So people seem to connect with like just me living life, which is now it's like, oh, you're a lifestyle influencer. I'm like, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've just always shared that part of my life.
Wow.
I thought it would stop. I thought my kids would be like, no more. And they went up and down with like, don't share stuff about me.
Yeah.
But like, if I stopped, they'd be like, how come you never,
Really?
How come you never talk about me? I'm like, well, you said to not talk about you. So they've been really great sports about the fact that like they lend me to a certain degree to the community. And it also, like, they get recognized at the grocery store or whatever. And, yeah, they're pretty good about it.
How is Alyssa with everything?
Well, it's so funny because she's much more private, as you know. She's very introverted. But she's amazing about it. Like, she is supportive of it. She did once ask me to tone down some of the political. Like, when I left TV and went into talk radio, I didn't quite... You're trying to figure out the balance.
Yeah.
So I was using social media to sort of test out topics and see how people responded. And people responded. And sometimes people get very personal. Like they'll post a Google map image of my house. Like that's happened. Scary. So she's like, could you maybe dial it down? I'm like, okay.
Right.
But it's great. She gets recognized. I think she likes it. She's a finance executive. It pushes her out of her comfort zone. So she's been pretty good about it.
Yeah. Well, you're blessed to have a family that's supportive of what
I'm
you
lucky.
do. I mean, you're like living your dream.
I think about this a lot, this idea where so many people in your profession, in any profession, where they think they want to do something. They love it. It's their dream. And the skills just don't match up. There's a lot of luck in life, right? So obviously I worked hard to get where I'm at. I'm constantly trying to get better. I'm staying on top of trends, whatever. There are many professions where you can only work so hard. You hit a ceiling. You have to have some natural talent. And I feel blessed, lucky, confused. But for me, the natural skills lined up with the desire.
Yeah.
It's lucky. Like, I don't think everyone needs that. You can find ways to scratch that itch in other ways. But for me, like, what a gift to go through life and be able to do what I love and also have the gifts that I was given, have that line up. Pretty cool.
But I mean, for you to recognize what you wanted, and obviously that came pretty early, but then to be able to like say, I'm going to hang my shingle. I mean, you had to do something.
Yeah.
Like you had to do something to get here. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it
that's
doesn't
true.
just happen.
No, you're right. You still have to go get it. And these jobs are so competitive. I mean, think about it. When I was the morning news anchor at Channel 4, there were 4 men in this giant community of 5 million people. 4 men had my job.
Wow.
So you multiply that around, there were more than 4 news anchors in this town, but how many male news anchors are there in Minneapolis? 12?
Yeah. I mean,
Not
really.
a lot of jobs.
Right.
Not a lot of jobs.
Interesting.
And today as a talk show host, like there are, I don't know, at WCCO Radio, you have the morning show, 9 to noon, noon to 3, me, and the night show. You have 5 shows. You have My Talk, you have K-Fan, you have, and that's about it.
Wow,
so how many jobs are there for somebody who wants to talk? Not a lot.
Did you ever aspire to do something more on the national stage again?
Yeah, there was a time where I thought like I would become a correspondent at the national news, and just never happened for me. I think part of my local success has also been a little bit inhibiting on a national scale, where my goal in storytelling on TV has always been within the second sentence, you would immediately know it was a Jason DeRusha's story.
Interesting.
So my word choice, my style of delivery, my directness, my willingness to use normal people talk instead of news talk, I always wanted to be where right away you would know. And at every job I've had, this sort of would happen in the editorial process, where a story idea would come up and they'd be like, that's a Jason story. And you're like, yeah. And all of us in our communication should have that. You should have your distinct voice. At the network national level, like they sort of want their voice. And I do have to think about that, right? Like I communicate in all different forums. My voice when I'm writing my newsletter is different from my voice when I'm writing an editorial story for Minnesota Monthly, which is different from my voice if I'm doing a client video. Like it's all different, but it's all me.
Yeah.
It's just different parts of my personality,
Yeah.
but it's all genuine from me.
But that's just knowing your audience, right?
Oh.
And just understanding why you're there, which you said earlier. You're always thinking about why am I here? What am I? What are the other things that are?
Because it's not about me; it's about who's receiving the information or
Right.
who you intend to receive the information. So I don't know. I think it's hard sometimes for broadcasters to go into like, I don't know, what do we call it? The regular world, the real jobs. But I feel like I've been doing like real-time market analysis for the last 25 years of my life.
Yeah.
Where you're constantly taking in the information, analyzing what's the best way to get information out to people. Yeah.
And you have, kind of this audience and this platform. And it seems like you respect it. You're not the actor who, the minute they have a mic in front of them where they're, that they get to, jump on their cause, right? Do you feel like, how do you balance having this platform with whatever causes you feel passionate about?
It's interesting, right? Well, in all of my time in TV, I never was really allowed to favor, I would host different events and there were causes that I think people knew I loved. But like part of being a journalist is you make a trade-off, right? And you say like, well, I'm not going to put a yard sign in front of my house, or I'm not going to campaign for a politician, because that's just not what you do. It's the trade-off you make. Now I am able to, and I've had some time to think about like, all right, if I'm going to shine a light on things, what do I want those things to be? And it can be tricky, right? Like in the restaurant world, if I try to only raise up like good people, you're like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like people are usually good to me. Are they good to work for? Different question.
Right.
Are they good to their vendors, or do they pay their bills? Are they good to their landlord? Like, I don't know. All of these things I don't know. So it gets a little tricky if you start adding those things onto people. For me, like the causes I care about fighting hunger, and I've been very vocal about that on my platforms. I'm a board member at Second Harvest Heartland. I care about innovation, especially when it comes to children's health. So I've been active with the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. So those have sort of been my biggest causes that I've worked on.
Yeah, and super great causes and very.
It's hard to get mad at fighting hunger, right? Like our kids trying to, it's been cool. Like this community, and I talk to journalists in other towns where they're like, my gosh, you guys have so much in terms of fundraisers and different things. But I do think like we have a very compassionate, I don't know if it tracks back to like the Lutherans and, bringing over refugees. Like there's always been a realization in this community that, like, especially those of us who have been lucky enough to have some success and have some financial success, like we do partially owe that to this place, right? Like you talk about people in places. I mean, the success of people, it's not, we have this dumb idea today that you can do anything anywhere you want. If you are anchored in a place, I feel like just like a tree that plants its roots, we as people there's terroir. There's energy that comes from the soil. There's energy that comes from the people around you. And so I've had tremendous success here. So giving back here, to me, it's not just like, oh, I'm glad to do it. Like I feel like I have to do it. Because all the success I've had, I would have nothing if it wasn't for the audience here, the advertisers who care enough to support what we're doing, the management of the places that have lent the transmitter to me. I just rent these chairs like it belongs to somebody else. So all of those things, I think it's something you have to learn. You probably had the same. Like when you're in your 40s, when you're younger than that, no one ever asked you to like write a check to somebody.
Yeah, right.
And like today we're in this GoFundMe culture where people I think they're being charitable, and in fact they're just being nice. Like they're being nice to people who are in need, which I think is really cool. But like you're not really being charitable. Like you have to write checks. You have to write checks to things you care about, or those things will go away. That's just sort of how it is. And so I had to learn that, and now I write the checks. It's part of the deal.
You become, give the time. You become pretty popular. I once said talked to this woman who was very charitable, and she said, if I pass away, like a lot of people are going to miss me. She goes, my family might not notice I'm missing, but she said, I can tell you a lot of the people will never forget me.
That's right. You better have that in your will, or you're in big trouble. Yeah, it's true.
So you talk about the fact that every 5 years or so, like you get an itch. And how long have you been doing the drive time?
So I've been at radio for, I started in 22. So it'll be I'll finish 3 years in June.
Okay.
So I'm not quite getting the itch.
Yeah.
But I do think a little bit like being in radio does that open up a different sort of national lane for me? What's difficult is we talk politics on the show, but it's not a conservative show. It's not a liberal show. It's sort of I'll call out BS when I see it. Do I have my bias? Sure. But everybody gets ripped on my show if they do something worthy, right? Equal opportunity. That's not what is really flying on the national level. Like people like to hear their own thoughts parroted back to them.
Interesting, for sure.
So
I think that's true.
Which I get. Like, why do I want to hear someone I disagree with?
Yeah.
But like, I like hearing people I disagree with.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's super fascinating to hear different people's personality.
Their
perspectives. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just
I hope it comes back, but like it is. You look at WCCO radio. There are not a lot of radio stations in the country that are that talk news, talk current events, but also talk lifestyle and fun. And There's just not a lot of us anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it'll be interesting to see kind of what your next ventures are.
We're launching a website. Like, I've been going through a redesign, so we're doing that. Now that I'm 50, now I'm officially old. So
Bite your tongue.
I've been thinking about that a little bit, like this idea of getting older without getting old. So that's something that I'll probably, like, there's some non-woo-woo wellness space type stuff that I'm sort of interested in. Like, how do we, especially men, like, we don't like to go to the doctor. We don't like, if you just wait, maybe it will go away.
Right.
That's sort of my approach. So now that I'm 50, I've decided, like, I got to get it together. So I think there's some opportunity there.
That's
so
interesting.
Who knows? Like, it's always, social media always keeps things hopping, and
Yeah.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, before we head out, I want to talk for just a minute about your new cabin.
Yes. Cabin in the city.
Right. So you're kind of exploring one of Sherman's newer properties.
Look,
firsthand.
I love downtowns. I love downtown Minneapolis. I love downtown St. Paul. I have fought the fight to try to get, especially the governments, to send people back to work. And I've lost. Like, people aren't going back to work 5 days a week. Maybe we'll get them 3 days a week, but it's all going to change. Downtown is not going to be just an office place anymore. And so I think what Sherman is doing in saying, you know what, like, we can't change every building. We can't save all these buildings. Converting things into residential, people who are watching this know it's hard. It usually doesn't make sense. The government has to invest a lot of money, but sometimes it does. And on top of it, it's cool. So I have an apartment in what used to be an office building. I get a little tingle every time when I look out the corner windows and see, I see downtown. I see Target Center. I see Murray's Steaks. I see the Rand Tower. Like, it's pretty cool. So I love the innovation, the creativity, and, like, we'll see. Do enough people want to live right in the heart of the city? I do. Like, that was always our plan when our kids went off to college, that we would move into the city. And so I think the building is awesome, and the way they repurpose some of the elevator shafts, because apartment building or an office building has 10 elevators or whatever. You don't need that for a building,
Right.
So they're running like plumbing and electrical through the shafts, because otherwise, how do you pencil it out where it makes sense?
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
That's so fun. Well, I for one, am looking forward to continuing to listen and follow, look at where you're eating and what you're saying and where you're living and what you're doing. And
it's been so fun. A lot of stuff where you think, like, I don't know, does anybody care about this? And I think people need a little nudge. They need to be inspired. And if I can help inspire people to, like, get out there and dive in and jump into the world, like, pretty cool. I want to do it.
And you are doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you.